Hello and welcome to the Foxy Bros podcast, the show where we talk about different topics and see where the conversation takes us. I'm your host, as always, Foxy, and I'm joined today by friends and family, as it were, and
friend of the family.
Making their returns, as it were, like their 17th return. It's like a wrestling retirement. It just never happened. Yeah. But making the return is Baz. We're also joined by the Tampa Bar bad boy, Terry Thatcher.
Yeah, I just want to say to anybody that's listening, thanks for sticking through the 17-minute intro that Foxy puts up on these. I started watching one of the last ones, and it literally just finished like yesterday. I started it last week. Fucking intro goes on for about a week.
At least wait till he finishes before you start fucking shooting. Hell.
No, that's not his style. Like, he has to get in there, like, get shit in.
Fucking hell, like. No pulse, no cold, like.
The fucking intro, man, it goes on for days. It's like, oh, okay, all right, it's about to start now. No.
Yeah, it's still going.
No, it's still going. Somewhere, it's still playing.
Over the rainbow, yeah. And we're also joined by Jon Terry Thatcher.
I think for this, yes. Hello. I was about to say there. I think for what we're talking about tonight, I think you should actually make the intro a little bit longer. You know, just like to go for the extra 4 minutes. Get to smoke around the place. Yeah, absolutely.
Long entrance.
Yeah, it's fitting, I suppose. Yeah.
So basically today, for this one, obviously we are recording this on a Monday, the 23rd of November, and last night was Survivor Series, the final farewell, as it were, for the Undertaker, and we decided to just talk about our favorite bits throughout the career of Undertaker. So, anyone that's watched it, which I assume all of us have, last night was very good in regards to their little tribute as well.
I watched it kind of arseways. I woke up at like 12:30 and I was like, oh, I'll throw on Survivor Series, and it was literally like I kept falling asleep and having to go back to where I'd missed, and I think I had finished watching it by about 6 o'clock this morning. And by that stage, Aoife was awake, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll catch a half hour, but no, she was too busy kicking me for me to get any sort of sleep. And then Orla came in. So I'm running on maybe about 20 minutes sleep, so it should be interesting. But in tribute to Undertaker, I don't have any Jack, but I guess Canadian will do. Here's to the dead man.
Dilly.
Oh, that's gross.
That's Canadian for you.
Yeah, no, I'm just super hungover from Saturday.
That's fair enough.
Catching up to you.
Yeah.
Getting older.
Yep. Yeah, hangovers in your 30s are no fucking joke.
I've yet to experience one. Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
Nearly out of my 40s.
Yeah.
That still counts, Baz. That totally counts.
You don't get hangovers. You just fall asleep and that's it. It's done.
That's the same.
That's how he avoids hangovers. He just he just, you know, I've drank enough. I'm just gonna sleep where I stand. And fresh as a daisy.
I'm not going to try it, man. It clearly works.
So, obviously, like it was a very nice tribute to Paul Bearer being one of the last things to sign off for the Undertaker.
That was a cool little touch.
Yeah.
Like also like Vince McMahon himself coming out and doing the intro as well.
And dropping the F-bomb as well.
Yeah. The WWF bomb.
You got around that fucking panda. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I thought I saw a panda scurrying past there in the Thunderdome, but I think that was just someone taking the piss.
Royalties.
Pay me.
Nah, but like it was fun. It was nice to see that the people that they had for his tribute. Now, obviously, a lot of people would think there'd be more, and rightfully so. But with given the current climate, it was nice with the people that they had on hand there.
Great seeing Savio Vega again.
Yeah,
That was deadly.
Yeah, seeing Savio.
And the Godwins.
That was strange.
Balls, like full on balls, like.
That's it. Everyone keeps saying that, like, oh, how come Kane's the only one that came in gimmick? Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Godwins don't wear those overalls like 24/7.
Yeah,
could be wrong though.
Yeah, true. Although I think isn't Midian like a chef now?
I think
like he's a well-to-do chef.
Could be. Still, he could still be wearing the dungarees as a chef. I don't think he'd be very sanitary, but you know.
No.
Does anyone else think there's a rib on Kane though?
Oh, with everyone just like going a little bit. It looked very strange, all right. I don't know if people are just keeping kayfabe or not.
in their gear, and he said, "All right, cool," and then they don't. So
yeah.
I like to think like he actually got into his gear so that people watching it would go, "Hang on, doesn't he look a lot like that Republican guy Glenn Jacobs?"
That could have been the way to avoid it. It's just like, if I have the mask on, they don't know who I am.
Yes, precisely.
Well, so a long career, 30 years, starting in 1990. Now, obviously, we're gonna have different iterations, but like, I'm gonna start out with my favorite, like straight off the bat. Favorite iteration is the Ministry of Darkness.
Good choice.
Because that was when I was starting to get into wrestling. So that was my first introduction.
His pointy beard. His cool music and his punch on for mortar.
Yeah.
video.
Baz, are you trying to fork your beard now?
Yes, I am.
Oh dear.
Nah, but like, what about yourselves? Like, what would have been your favorite iteration for Undertaker?
I don't know. Like, I liked. I did like when him and Paul Bearer first broke up. Like when Paul turned on him, and for like a month or so, he was just coming out, and he still had the purple gloves and all on, but he wasn't wearing the hat or the jacket anymore.
Yeah.
After the Boiler Room Brawl, the next night on Raw, he gets brought out by the Druids and sits up in the aisle. I think Paul Bearer and Mankind are in the ring, and he sets off the pyro from the posts. But like for the next month or so, he was just coming out without the jacket, without the hat, and it was kind of cool because Paul Bearer would always take the hat off of him and take the jacket off of him, and like he was kind of lost. It was almost like he was lost without him, without Paul. He eventually switched over to his leather pirate phase, but I liked that little spell, and I also really liked. I think it was around 2007 when he just all of a sudden you really started noticing just how fucking jacked he was. They did like a photo shoot with him, Bobby Lashley, and Cena, and they're all the champions. Cena's the WWE, Lashley is the ECW, and Taker is the World Heavyweight Champion. And they did a photo shoot with the three of them, and Lashley and Cena, they're big boys, but like Jesus Christ, Taker standing beside them, and he's like just a mountain of a human. I like that phase. But I'm sure there's loads of others, like his opera mask when he got his face broken.
Oh yeah,
it was a nice look.
Mm-hmm.
But go on. Anyone else?
I was gonna say there that I'm maybe perhaps a bit of an outlier in this situation in that like I would have watched wrestling quite late. So as I've said previously on the channel, that my first match I've ever watched properly, or at least remember watching, was Undertaker Jeff Hardy. So that was during his Big Evil phase. So that was my first exposure to the Undertaker, and then obviously the whole kind of if you like the kind of American Badass / Big Evil period of his career. But so he was the kind of that was the character kind of captured my attention. But then obviously I kind of worked the way back and just went like, oh, the Ministry of Darkness is class. Oh, the stuff in the 90s is class as well. I was like, this ticks all the boxes. This is all really good. And they're all like, there's all different pros and cons to it. I suppose if I had to pick one, because I was like got bet into wrestling properly around this time, perhaps when he did kind of like come back as the more traditional Undertaker character when he was buried alive, I think to me that was perhaps the most effective in a way, because there was a good balance between like, well, we've established that this is the Undertaker. You know who he is at this point. We brought back Paul Bearer just to kind of like almost like a bit of a nostalgia in a way, but it was a bit of a reset character-wise, and just like, well, he's back to being like what he is now, back to being this kind of like this silent killer. But you know that there's elements of the character still there. You still know that the American Badass is in there somewhere, as is the Ministry stuff and all that. And depending on the context, depending on who he's up against, you'll see different elements of it. But I think also like that period of his career, in my opinion, is when he had his best matches, where I think they kind of like decided, well, listen, we have some like really interesting talent he can pair up against here. So if you look from like WrestleMania 20 onwards, he's had barnstormers with Orton, Henry, Batista, Edge, Shawn Michaels twice, Triple H, the end of an era, Punk. Like, that's an incredible run of WrestleMania matches. And I'm not even talking about the programs in between. You know, the kind of the SmackDown / Teddy Long era where, God love him, he's had to go up against the likes of fucking Heidenreich. But because he's a professional and he knows what he's doing, he's like been able to carry it relatively well. Like, he gave him a fair shake. He had the job out for the Great Khali, for fuck's sake. Like, that's not for nothing either. So he was actively used quite well to either put over talent or to keep SmackDown a very strong show, which at the time they really, really needed. So in a way, I think he was best utilized around that time. Because again, at that stage, they were kind of a bit thin on star power, at least on the SmackDown side. So we kind of ran the show in a sense. Or at least Teddy Long kind of made him run the show in that sense, because literally every SmackDown opening was like, you're going one-on-one with The Undertaker, because we don't have any fucking idea what else we're doing in this. So good luck with that, MVP, for the 15th time this week.
He was the secret weapon of SmackDown.
That's it, yeah.
Many heels got out online, and he's like, well, hold on a second, player.
Match, and if you win that, you're going against The Undertaker.
I just love the actual, like, the implication there that Teddy Long is actually on really good terms with zombie Undertaker, as if like Teddy is like one of the few people that get him, you know, he's able to get him to talk and get him to chat and go, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to kick someone's ass for me? Yes. Well, great. It's great doing business with you. Holla, holla, holla. You know, I love that myself, but I think that one, in a way, the kind of like the sunset phase of his career, I think like was one of the best, because he was better utilized. And then when he started slowing down a bit and doing like less and less matches, the matches he was in were actually quite decent, with again a few notable exceptions. But I think a lot of people know what those exceptions are, you know. So maybe we will not talk about them tonight, just as a rule of principle. So, how about yourself, Baz?
Well, I can't look past the American Badass, the original American Badass, and during the entire run, when he went heel and he beat up David Flair and all of that stuff, I can't.
Oh yes,
that was so cool. I loved it, and I thought it was brilliant when I was watching it. Maybe some of it didn't land when I look back at it now, but in my opinion, the Undertaker, that was the Lord of Darkness before the Ministry, the one that went against Shawn in the Cell, feuded with Kane originally. And Mankind in the Cell as well, and also it's kind of that same one that Joey was talking about with the Bob Mankind and the Boiler Room Brawl. Kind of all of that stuff all came together, and then that Undertaker that did the Hell in a Cell threw Mankind off and threw the cell and beat the piss out of Shawn Michaels in the first one. You know,
that was
he gives him at the end of the match before Kane. That's gotta be Kane. I mean, that's my favorite. The Phenom. Remember the Phenom?
Yes, I was just gonna say that was when that was kind of like Vince had always kind of called him. It's the Phenom on a World Wrestling Federation. Unbelievable.
1, 2.
Oh no.
No, don't give away the finish.
What a maneuver!
Yeah, I think that was when he really started. They really started kind of pushing this. He's the Phenom of the World Wrestling Federation, because they used to say that about Andre, but obviously Andre wasn't around anymore, so it was just like okay, Taker is he's the successor to Andre of this locker room leader, someone that everyone respects, that, and he was used as an attraction. Now, by the time it got to like around that stage, around the Attitude Era, he couldn't be an attraction anymore, because he had to be on TV every week. Yeah. So it wasn't like you were saying, Jonathan, like years later when he'd be used as that secret weapon of SmackDown, of like, I'll bring you out every now and then. Yeah. But like back then, that's when they really started pushing that Phenom idea.
Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. That was obviously I watched wrestling since the early WrestleManias, and stuff like that, and I loved Undertaker way back, even when I pretended I didn't, because I loved Hulk Hogan. And I couldn't like somebody that beat Hulk Hogan, but I had to, I couldn't lie. Undertaker was amazing then, and he still is now. Unfortunately, you have to give it up.
It was once he turned a good guy, then it was like, it's okay. I'm allowed like him now.
Yeah, all the secret Undertaker fans that are popping out of the closet, it's like, yeah, no, I see. I always had this hat and tie anyway. It's grand. Like, it's really a coincidence.
And then the hipsters being, I liked him before he was a good guy.
I liked him when he was Commando, actually.
Our Texas Predator,
the Punisher.
When he was burnt at the skyscrapers, I thought that was his best role to date.
Mark Callis.
like with it, obviously, we all have our different iterations that we really like, but you can't deny, he's had such a career that he's been showcased in all these different stipulations over the years that lend themselves to the character itself. I mean, obviously you have Hell in a Cell, Buried Alive, you have the Boiler Room Brawl, and a casket match as well. Like there's so many different match stipulations that are almost synonymous with that character as well.
Yeah.
I mean, think of the caliber of people that he's gone against in those matches as well, or the careers that he's made / shortened.
Yes. One notable example.
But,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, you go through if you were to go through his opponents through the years, he had some it was a high caliber of people. I mean, Yokozuna, big man, but goddamn, could move unbelievably well. I know people regard Rikishi as a really
agile big man.
Yeah.
No, but Yoko was doing it. But that's the thing about Yoko. Yoko wouldn't he wouldn't be flying around the ring only when he needed to. So he'd move around the ring fairly slow until the moment came when he'd throw up a super kick if he needed to, or he could hit the ropes and run and drop a leg, just at the right time. You can't just do it all the time, or else it loses.
Which is similar to what Undertaker was saying about him.
Yeah.
You know, that walk so slow, we'd be all doing the choke in the corner and the slow walk and the chop to the throat. But then someone might hit him against the ropes and then he'd just bounce back with that diving clothesline and just take their goddamn head off.
Just really kind of catch everybody by surprise by like this, like you said, the slow moving zombie is suddenly just this burst of energy. He can move as well.
And what he can do is very impressive. I mean, by his size, shouldn't be able to dive over the ropes like that.
Yeah, that was always the curious aspect of him, though, is in a sense that he was doing things that like other people were like in a way like traditionally told not to do, because like he was one of the few people that wasn't doing stuff like selling. You know, when you get hit with a punch to the face, normally like you're instructed, and indeed you get like heat if you don't fucking like go, no, my jaw. But like because it was the character he had, it was such a logical thing to just not react. They just go like, what happened? Or like one of my favorite examples of this is when I think he was against Yokozuna, and he get his head smashed against the steel steps, and he just like stand and go, "What the fuck did you do that for?" It's just like, fucking excuse me, and I love it because it perfectly embodies the character. It's just like I have registered damage, but I didn't like it, and now you've made me angry, you know. But it was just a simple thing where like very few people perhaps would have thought that, and I think that's the personal aspect he brought to the Undertaker character, was that with very sort of people, that character would have fell on its arse a couple of weeks in. It would have been a Max Moon, it would have been a Minotaur, but because it was him putting his own spin on it, his own kind of input onto it, that's what gave it the longevity. That's what gave it the uniqueness about it, and the charisma came true. Like he didn't have to say anything. He didn't have to cut any promos. He didn't do any like weird kind of backdrop stuff. Him just standing there with the gear on did everything for him because he knew what he was doing. He was in the role. He knew exactly what to do. And then over time with Paul Bearer and when they started going into more like a colorful kind of cartoony characters, that's when you saw most of it. But he was still in the same kind of like mindset. It's just like, this is what the Undertaker is, and he executes it perfectly. Yes, of course, missteps all the time, but I think if you have the roasting the glasses on all the time, you're still going to see the Undertaker as this ridiculously incredible performer and character, regardless of the context. You know,
I think it kind of helped as well that he came in when you know, it was the Jake the Snake thing, where everyone else is shouting and screaming and roaring. Jake is quiet and he talks low, and you have to lean in and you have to listen to him. And the same with Taker. Now you had Paul Bearer to do the big shrill voice and all, but like if Taker spoke, he would say a couple of lines here and there, but it would be very slow. It'd be low. You have to lean in. You have to listen properly to what he's saying, and you see that. And then the next interview is Ultimate Warrior going, "From the mountains of the universe," and all that.
Like I was doing, Joe. Merry Christmas, Yokozuna. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the breath. It's all the theatrics as well. Like you were saying there, Jonathan, about like when he's getting his head slammed, but like it's the hair whip. It's not like the hair whip and the head tilt. It's all those little theatrics that just made him stand out so much.
I do remember him talking about it, but I can't remember who it was with. He talked about like in a match with someone, and they're hitting him like so hard that eventually he just said it. It's like, "Do I owe you money?"
Yeah, I think that was what he's in a tag match. It's like him and Brett against Shawn and Diesel or something like that.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Diesel's in there beating the shit out of him. He's just, "Do I owe you money? Get Shawn back in here."
And then because Bradshaw was telling that story to Shawn and Triple H and Stone Cold, and then he said that it happened with him on his first night, his debut against the Undertaker, and he's kind of laying the man and Undertaker's like, "Do I owe you money?"
Did you watch one more round?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Same again. I was watching it and I kept falling asleep during it, but I like that little story about him when him and Godfather first met.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He met in the ring, and Godfather's just like going to town on him. So that's it. Give me a chair. Wallops him. He's just okay now. Calm down.
You know, the easy way or the hard way? I would prefer to do it the easy way.
We can do it together. Yeah, I know. Like all of his stories that are coming out now are just so great. You know, because he protected that character for so long, even during the American Badass stage. I know sometimes he would do interviews, but like he very rarely would do too much of it. You know, he wouldn't really be breaking the character too much. He just stuck with it. And it's very rare. I can't think of anybody else that has done it over the years that just wouldn't
to that degree, yeah.
Talk, you know.
Yeah.
And now he's out there breaking the dam now, and he's talking to everybody.
It's really jarring, isn't it? It's so jarring. Him just going like, "Hey guys, let me tell you about the time me and Papa Shango had pints." It's like this happened 25 years ago. Have you been writing this shit down?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I do find it like fun because like you're finally getting his perspective on stories that you've kind of heard from different people over the years, and you're fine now. Was that true, or has this happened, or how did it happen?
Like the Shawn Michaels taping their hands and giving them the warning. You don't lose the belt to Stone Cold. I'm gonna
do business. Do business, or I'll do business for you.
As cool as it is to start hearing some of these stories, I think it is a little bit jarring when there's so because he's been so quiet and so protective over the character for so long that it's just he's got free reign now, and he's taken every opportunity to do outside projects, and it's gone from one extreme to another, from being so secretive and so protective that almost instantly now it's, he's on Jimmy Fallon and he's on everything and doing cameo and all. And it's just, it's a little bit jarring. It is nice to hear all the stories and hear him do interviews and podcasts and stuff like that. But yeah, it's bit much with him sending birthday wishes for $1,000.
Man's making money. You can't say fairer than that. Like
I do find it funny because I think I was mentioning it before we start recording this. Is that one of the TikToks that was out like today is someone all elite Scooby-Doo. Like, congratulations on your wedding. You made the right decision.
Oh God.
Yeah. This is what people are paying for.
Yeah, in fairness. Like he's a killer agent, I can say that much.
So Baz, when are you gonna get a cameo from the Undertaker?
I would love that at all, but grand.
That's a lot.
We'll all chip in, it's grand. We'll all chip in.
You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. A minute.
Like obviously now like we're hearing all these like the little stories as well, but the as Jonathan was talking about, like his run from 2010 onwards, like when he was part of SmackDown, still regularly, like that's some blame run of like matches. I mean, his match with Orton is like made Orton in terms of like we need to take a look at this kid. Like he's gonna be a big thing like going forward.
Yeah.
Like the match with Edge, which up until that point no one else had a streak other than Edge. It was like a very
I always I don't know. I have questions about Edge's streak.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like I always found it really annoying that it was just like, yeah, I have a streak because I've never lost. It's like, yeah, you have. Well, you might not have been pinned, but you didn't win every match, you dope.
Like he was in a ladder match that someone else won.
Yeah, so yeah, that doesn't count. That's not a streak. Virgil has a better streak than Edge.
Oh Jesus!
Oh no!
Wow. To be fair, Joey, if we're going to be splitting the hairs here, we're going to have to like go to fucking VAR for the Giant Gonzalez match. Like that streak ends at number 3 when you think about it. Like, so, does chloroform count as part of the streak? Creative says no.
Actually, yeah. While we're on the subject of Giant Gonzalez, who is Undertaker's worst opponent?
Oh,
other than Giant Gonzalez.
Yeah, I think that's
like, it was
that's kind of a given. But
okay,
Heidenreich.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kamala. No offense meant to him. Although I thought it was kind of funny when he would do the splash and then he would he'd get up and then he realized Undertaker starting. He sits up and he like, whoa, he gets.
I think Kamala gave him a lot of love in that sense, right? Even with the casket match, where he was actually just afraid of caskets, and he was going like, no. That's why I kind of like Kamala for that part. Like,
it was silly and it was campy and it was fun. Yeah. But like, I don't know if you're judging it on like, you know, in-ring 5-star classics or anything, like it probably wasn't up there. It might have gotten a bag of magic stars, but that's about it.
So yeah, I think King Kong Bundy is probably on the lower ebb, isn't it? Like
yeah, especially like at least as far as the streak goes, as far as his Mania opponents, I think you're looking at John Gonzalez, and right next to that is King Kong Bundy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, obviously
Actually, I'll throw in A-Train and Big Show into that as well. Like, because that was a very odd match where they're kind of going, oh, here's Nathan Jones. Oh, Nathan Jones is gone. Right, back to Taker. So it's just like, what the fuck is that feud? It
was like, let's try and make Nathan Jones, and they got him in the ring, and I think it was actually Taker that was just like, yeah, he hasn't got it. He's not got it. So gonna have to figure something out because he's not thinking up my match.
Fucking hard pass on that.
Okay, favorite match, and I'm going by like for this one I'm going by Mania matches. So favorite.
Sean.
Just Mania.
Yeah, just Mania, because like we can still have our favorites outside of his Mania matches.
Sean 25. This one match alone. Storyline the following year.
See, I want to say 25. As awesome as the match was, I think for a story though, 28 in the cell.
And the Venera,
with Triple H. Ideally, that's like in hindsight, you're looking back and go, it could have ended there, and I think everybody would have been happy.
I don't think anyone either,
because it was a perfect number. It was 20-0.
Yeah, I know.
Like that's a rounded off number. It was called the end of an era. Like. The whole storyline progression of like him getting bashed the year before, but winning, and then coming back, and you know he's at the shaving the head and everything, and just like that little moment at the start where Shawn gets his entrance, Triple H gets his entrance, Undertaker gets his entrance, the Hell in a Cell gets an entrance.
Yeah,
with like
Metallica,
yes, fucking. Was the Memory Remains?
Yes, that's the one.
Yes, it was.
Metallica.
Actually, Baz, just on a quick side note, What's the name of the Metallica song that they used for his tribute last night?
Now that we're dead.
Okay, makes sense.
it was the same one they used in the Boneyard match.
Yeah, Boneyard match. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, but I think as far as like that's a kind of a perfect match as far as the Mania matches go. But yeah, that's just me being a smelly hipster. It's got to be Sean. It has to be Sean. It's one of the best matches ever.
Yeah. Like in a weird way, like it didn't really have a right to be, because it was just one of those matches where like, oh, here's the Undertaker match for this year. But the thing about it was that because like you have these two outstanding professionals, and I think if I'm not mistaken, a year or two before then, these two guys would have ended the Rumble 2007 Rumble.
Yes,
yeah.
He ended the Rumble.
I love that.
He ended the Rumble in 07 and then started the Rumble in 08.
Absolute barnstormer.
Like, they've been dropping little hints that something like this was going to happen, but when it finally got to the lead up to Mania 25, I mean, Jesus, like it was almost Taker versus Vladimir Kozlov.
Yeah. Thank God.
I think that might have been the idea. Like that might have been the working title. Like they were gonna go with that. Thank fuck for Sean.
It's bad, like because in a way, the great thing about that was that it just the story just writes itself, really. Because again, you had like Taker and Shawn Michaels, and I think it's because like you would have had that period where like Michaels you always perceived was always on Raw and Taker was always on SmackDown, so they were just never in the same environment. And then suddenly, this is when the Rumble was like the best at it. It was like you were getting matchups you wouldn't see normally, and then suddenly, oh, Taker, Shawn Michaels, of course, like these guys are. The last time I saw these guys in the ring was fucking Bad Blood, Hell in a Cell. That's got to be Cade. And then suddenly now, yeah, this is it. This makes complete sense. And again, just 10 minutes of just wonderful action back and forth, and that was just like. You took it for granted in the sense of, oh, that was a nice little treat. And then 2 years later, they're giving it the full WrestleMania program, light versus dark. And it's just like, that must have been the easiest fucking 4 weeks of like television to write. Because it literally was like, here's The Undertaker being from the dark, and here's Shawn Michaels found Jesus. Job done. Let's fucking cut and print. Like, get working on the promo immediately. You know,
I do love hearing the story. It's like how he found out. It's like, so I guess I'm working Sean for WrestleMania. It's like Sean doing it, like accepting the Slammy and calling it.
Oh yeah, that was from the year later.
Yeah,
that was outstanding. That was absolutely outstanding. Like I'd be kind of inclined to agree about 25, but I will say, just to be different, I will put 26 forward as well, because you did have that extra year to go with. But it was the fact, like, okay, you might argue that the 25 match was maybe just like a 50-50 match. 26 was a very Sean-centric match in a sense, because it was his retirement match, but it was also the build-up going into it, where that, like, clearly, like, he perhaps didn't show it in the end, but that's maybe down to the fact that, like, maybe he was actually hiding the fact that losing to Taker really fucking bothered him. And when it came around to him getting, like, the award for the best match, it just brought that back up again. I was thinking, like, should have fucking had him, you know? So he calls him out, does that whole thing, and at the time I believe Taker was champion. So everything was kind of falling into place for Michaels to go, well, hang on now, if I win the Royal Rumble, that means that Taker is absolutely going to be my opponent. I can lock that in. It can't be fucked. It can't be fucked with.
And he can't say no.
Exactly. That's the thing, because there was that other part to it too. Yeah.
Yeah, where he out and out challenged him, and Taker was just, no, I beat you already. I don't need to prove anything to you.
Yeah. Because again, it's this weird thing, because I remember at the time there was this kind of weird, like, presumed logic where, like, well, he's already beaten Shawn Michaels. Like, why would he face him again? It's going to move on to someone else. It was just a weird thing where, like, you've lost the Undertaker already at WrestleMania. You can't face him again. You've lost your chance. It moves on to someone else, because that was the kind of the sequence beforehand. But yeah, like, and then he sacrificed. He ruins everything to try and get to Taker. Like, DX, if you can call it that, broke up. He was like kicking referees around. He was losing the rag, and then completely bottled it at the Rumble. He got like thrown out by Batista with like a really soft elimination, like a deliberately soft elimination, and he just like lost the head.
Absolutely love it. I love it. I love the panic when he's getting eliminated and he's just like scratching and clawing, reaching for the rope. It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
it was Charles Robinson, Nan's favorite.
Yes. I just hit Stan. No, but that was it. It was just the extra little like wrinkle into it where like perhaps people knew that it was going to be Michael's last match, but it was always that slither of doubt. Like, what if it isn't? What if he does actually put Taker away here? And there was always that element to it every single time a Taker match came around. Was like, is this the time it's going to happen? Is this when they pull the trigger? And then after like perhaps with CM Punk way, you're going like, they'll never pull the trigger now. That's it. He's just going to keep winning, and then he's going to ride off to the sunset. We were very wrong about that, but they got you into that kind of mindset of like, here's the mandatory WrestleMania win for the Undertaker, and every single year they got closer and closer until it actually happened, you know. But I put 26 down just for that extra wrinkle of drama. That was absolutely sublime build up to that match. It was one of the best build ups I've ever seen, just because everything it hit every point perfectly, you know. And
plus, it has that awesome video package, the placebo.
Placebo package. Just that made it. That made the feud immediately. It was just
I wouldn't mind, but that's not even on it's not the one for the pay-per-view.
No, that was
a separate one that they did on the lead up. But it's not on the network around.
No,
you have to actually go on YouTube and find it.
It's weird how it works out. Like the music that tends to be used for these video packages is sort of what makes it as well, because it's telling you the story, but at the same time it's giving you that nice it's a nice backdrop to it, like that, like the lyrics tend to always fit the story that they're trying to tell. So I find that's what's good about those kind of video packages. My favorite
sorry, just one more on that. My favorite bit of that build up is Shawn costing him the title.
Yes.
But not only costing him the title, he's fucking helping Jericho of all people who a year before or a couple of years before punched Shawn Michaels' missus right in the mouth. Like, sworn enemy.
Cut his eye open, I recall.
Yeah. Nearly blinded him. Sparked out his missus. And he's breaking into the chamber to help Jericho of all people.
And also, pity Taker in that one because he got burnt.
Oh yes. Yeah. Poor fucker. He set on fire with his own fucking pyro.
Yet another example of Taker just being a fucking badass.
He's standing in the crowd burning up for 20 minutes. He goes into the match and wrestles for 20 minutes.
No, he gets
then he gets screwed over by Shawn Michaels. Of course he's gonna kill him.
Like you talk about, like, is like some of the injuries that he's gotten over the years. Like, it'd be stupid of me not to mention like his dive during the Shawn match.
Oh, Jesus!
The non-catching Sim Snuka.
No longer spotted Sim Snuka.
Should have been just a guy that's like keeping the fans out or something. That could have been it. You know.
To be fair, like, it's a hard spot to be in.
Yeah.
Not only, like, you know, he's probably nervous about being at WrestleMania and being in such an important role to such an important match, but he's also got like a camera and a load of cables all over him that he has to get rid of and then catch him. And, you know, Taker's a fairly large human being.
Yeah, so, like that visual of like Taker.
Oh, it is. It's horrible.
Like, is scary as hell.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you didn't get
terrifying.
Your favorite.
Oh, like like my favorite like Mania match. Like, obviously, like one of the first proper Mania matches I watched them in was 17, but I actually preferred 18 with Flair.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
Yeah. Because very underrated.
Because the build up to that was really good. Like this whole situation where like Taker's calling him out, Flair won't do it because he's like the co-owner.
shit.
Yeah.
But like, he then proceeds to like beat up anyone and everyone that's associated with Flair. But sets up so well for like the spot in the middle of the match, like for Arn Anderson.
Spine buster.
Oh.
It is the greatest spine buster ever hit ever.
It's amazing.
Like, it's just a great glimpse. Like, it just encapsulates Arn Anderson so well in less than like seconds. Just like slide in, spine buster, leave.
Yeah, leave it
like
that's it. Job done.
What an impactful, like, kind of like shit. That's a great cameo, like to do.
Speaking of cameo.
If you want to donate to the Baz GoFundMe to get him to
get his cameo, donations will be accepted.
Yes, we'll leave a link in the comments.
Now, if Undertaker started talking to me personally, I'd die. I'd be the next dead man.
Like,
boy.
18 is my favorite because like the build was so good, the match was very good, and as like he's admitted himself, this was the first time they acknowledged the streak.
The 10 at the end of the match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time
It started becoming a subplot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every now and then, JR would always try and put it over on commentary. But, like it'd be one or two, like it'd be a line or two in commentary, but it wasn't a focal point. It wasn't a big like it wasn't a huge deal. It was when Taker acknowledged it that
exactly.
Holy shit, I have won 10. Because it was an accident. It wasn't planned. It just so happened that he hadn't lost.
Like, yeah, like obviously, like 18 is my favorite, but obviously we've talked about like the Mania matches, but outside of that, what would be our favorite, either favorite match or favorite run, as it were, of Taker?
Well, my favorite match of all time is the first Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Like,
that's gotta be Kane.
I think it's a given.
Sorry.
No, that's the one for me. Like, personally, I just think it's such a well executed, such a well told story in the match, and you know, I love my big man, little man matches, because obviously,
it's what you base your career on.
Exactly, and it's a perfect example, and I think everything about the match is done so well. I mean, the commentary is brilliant in it. The commentary is so good in it. Like Jerry Lawler he's on. Yeah, he's pulling a blinder. Like, he does this little line where he's just like Taker's just stalking Shawn around the ring at the start, and he's just I've always wondered why do funeral processions go through red lights? I mean, what's the hurry? Taker's in no hurry because he's got all day. There is no time limit. Shawn can't go anywhere. He can just take his time. And
Shawn takes a horrendous beating in that match.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the first minutes, Undertaker just batters. I could be wrong. It might not be 10 minutes. It could be only 5 or 6 minutes. But like,
he beats the shit out of him. And even when Shawn starts to get a little up, it's not for long.
No.
Taker, once Taker gets a hold of him, then it's I'm gonna fuck you up again.
Yeah, it's like Shawn him off the ropes, like he's getting momentum. Boop.
This is not gonna be pretty. This is not gonna be pretty.
I love McMahon
on that topic.
Something like that. It's just like, he's building some momentum. Oh, this isn't gonna be pretty. No.
Michael's now not gonna be pretty. And even like there's another comment. I think it might be McMahon or it could be JR. And it's like, if you don't know what to do with Taker when Undertaker in the ring, if you're on top of him, he eats you up. But if you kind of back up, then he's on you. He's all over you anyway. you know, because he can take all of your moves, just take them all, and then just batter you with something, you know. And like what I always find fascinating as well is even if they try to, I know it's nothing to do with this cell match, but if they try to match him on you know, mind games and all of that kind of stuff that he does, they forget the fact. Well, they might not, but it seems like they forget the fact that it's still a nearly 7 foot tall man.
Yes.
300 pounds and he's gonna kill you. You know, like
yeah. Never mind the mind games and all the spooky shit that he does.
Aside, he'll just batter you. He'll just beat the piss out of you.
Yeah. He'd also punch your jaw in as well. But yeah, no, that's definitely, it's my favorite match of all time, and I just think it's really, really, really good. I think, especially when you look at the end, when you look at Kane coming in, and you know the cell was designed to get Kane over, that nobody else could get in, nobody else could get out except Kane, and just the bit at the end, because you'd never ever seen Taker show any sort of fear or confusion, maybe a little bit confusion when Paul Bearer turned on him, but like he never showed fear ever until he saw Kane, and just the look of bewilderment on his face. It's just it's such a perfect piece of business, and just the match itself, like it's top quality. Like I don't think it matters, but yeah, it did get a 5-star, but you know, whatever. Yeah, no,
high
definitely.
regard for a reason.
Yeah.
Like,
it's two masters at their craft.
That is his best. That is one of his best matches of all time, apart from maybe the Michael's Mania matches or some of the other ones that were great. You know, but I just wanted to, in my opinion, I think Kane is his greatest rival. Even though I know he teams with him occasionally, I still think that Kane, hands down, is his best rival. Seconded only by Mankind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that would actually, like, it definitely, like, and it plays into the fact that, like, that rivalry would stem into the second Hell in a Cell, which would, like, we'd see, like, Mick Foley just taking ungodly beating. Like,
unbelievable.
Like, Jesus Christ, like, it was almost borderline murder.
It could very well have been if he went 5 minutes.
And
5 more minutes.
As Taker was saying on Austin's thingy, that what he was originally doing with the choke slam, that when he went through, is he was standing on the mesh with him. So he stood back and he stood on the beam thing because he realized that the mesh was going in between his feet anyway. So he choke slammed him. But like, if he had been standing on the mesh, then he would have fallen in on top of Mick. And that would have been the end of Mick, probably.
Yeah.
Because he would have landed on it, you know, as well as him going down, like, the wrong way as well.
Would have been a completely different match altogether. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
He's had some really good, like, not only like with the matches, but like promo segments, whether it be like doing the verbal sparring with The Rock, like during the 90s, or upon Jericho's debut, just give a verbal beatdown, basically. Like, I have more ring time and you've got shower time. Like, yeah. But yeah, like,
it's on that topic of like favorite matches, like the one that's kind of coming to mind again. This is in the phase where like I just experienced, like I just seen kind of Big Evil Taker. I was thinking like, oh, I want to see more of this. So I think I perhaps went to like a 2 weeks worth of like a YouTube rabbit hole, just like seeing all old clips of the Undertaker and going, see how far back does this actually go? And it's like, well, the answer is quite a fucking bit. But one of the various matches that kind of caught my attention, naturally the Hell in a Cell matches were up there, but the first Inferno match, himself and Kane, were just like, it's such a it's not a great match, but in a sense that like there's no wrestling action here. Like the matches, the ring is on fire, lads. Like you're not there to watch fucking like collar and elbow tie-ups. You're there because this is an incredibly surreal and ridiculous situation that these two incredibly over the top characters are involved in. But it suits everything so well. Like this, like it felt so crazy, you know. And there's some fantastic visuals in it. Like obviously with the fire, like the way it's set up, like just the cameras are positioned so well that you can see the heat haze as they're wrestling and stuff like that. The fire kind of like rising every time that they do a big spot and things like that. Small little features like that I think are brilliant. But I think my favorite thing about it was that when we were talking about dives earlier on. Fuck it.
He's frozen.
We can still hear you, but your screen is gone.
Yeah. Like like Johnson's screen is frozen, but like his audio is gone. So he'll be back in a minute.
Oh.
But yeah, like
I agree about the Inferno match. I thought that incredible.
Yeah. There you go.
There's a lot of heart in your like. There's a lot of heart in your throat moments in that when they get like maybe get a little too close to the ropes. And, you know, by this stage, like we would have had an idea of what was going on. You know, they kind of know who's going to win or whatever. But like when you look at it and go like the margin for error. Like,
so high.
I think there's one point where Taker goes for a big diving clothesline and Kane ducks, and he literally he rolls over Kane and rolls so close to the ropes, and he's got like one strand of his hair could have caught on fire, and that's it. It's not only is Taker gonna be born to shit, but ruin the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and also Kane, I know he has one arm that's covered, that is the one that gets set on fire, but the other arm isn't. So I mean, easily just gets struck or like.
Yeah. And you got to feel for Kane as well, because like he's in this full bodysuit and a big thick leather mask as well.
Yeah.
So imagine trying to breathe in that. Like Niall, me and you, we've wrestled in masks before, and like it's suffocating enough as it is. Imagine trying to do that when there's literally no air.
Like it's scary because, like as you said, like we both wrestle in a mask. Like you fortunately got to a mask that opens the mouth. Whereas I did, I had a full. I went the opposite route with that. Like I got a full on, like whole face covered, and my body is covered in a fucking gimp suit. So,
so you know how he felt then.
Yes. So yeah, like it would have been absolute torture. Like, and he's a big guy, so like, I can imagine like that's not going to be like.
As they were saying on the Brothers of Destruction thing, that each time that they spammed and those
flames would come up,
that all the oxygen was just sucked out of the
just evaporate.
And then the two of them are like Sean when he does that moonsault under the table.
Instantly, all of us, as soon as we heard it, it's like, no.
I think it's against Flair at 24. I'm not sure though.
Yeah. It's
awful.
Just awful.
So would you agree that Kane is his greatest rival, or would you put someone else forward?
Well, see, I've got a soft spot for Mankind.
Yeah.
But like,
that's what I mean. It's like Mankind or Kane. But I think.
Well, the '96 feud with Mankind. There's a really soft spot for me for that, because
the day after WrestleMania beats Bob Holly, and then Undertaker beats Bradshaw later on in the night, and just Mankind on him.
Seemingly there's no reason behind it. He's just Mankind has decided he's going to target Undertaker.
I'm going after this son of a bitch in the entire thing,
Just because he's fucking insane.
Yeah.
But like up until that point, you know, Taker he'd always worked with the monsters, and he'd always worked with the giants, and he'd always worked with the big lads. And he finally had someone who was smaller and could move, but was also
he'd occasionally get a match against a Bret Hart or somebody like that, so he could discuss when he actually could wrestle. But mostly, I agree. I know what you
all of his big angles were always with monsters like Kamala or John Gonzalez or fucking anybody else. It was always big guys, and like he had his feud with Diesel, and that was you know, you got to see a little bit more of a personality coming out of Undertaker, of the character. Yeah. But then once I got into this Mankind feud, and it's so violent, especially for that time. Like, we're not talking like it wasn't like barbed wire or like thumbtacks or anything yet, but for that time, for the 1996, like it was so violent, the stuff that they were doing, and it brought out a completely different side of Undertaker. And he got like Foley got like not a clean win, but he got a pay-per-view win over Taker.
Ring and at SummerSlam.
Yeah. So like Taker really kind of went out of his way to make Mick Foley look as credible as possible, because if you get a clean win or a semi-clean win over Undertaker on pay-per-view, you're a made man.
Yeah. I mean, like
that
bit when he came out of the boiler room and all both fighting each other, and Mankind picks up the pot of coffee and just chucks it on Undertaker. You know, I know it's probably not that hot. You know, like a big maybe made it look like it is, but yeah.
It's weird, like, because there's a few other ones, because when you ask like what was his kind of best rival, I think it is between Kane and Mankind overall, but there's a lot of them that fly under the radar, because like you immediately think of the more like kind of like historical ones. But in that kind of region where he did come back to the kind of more the original Dead Man gimmick, he had some fantastic feuds, and a lot of them were quite long ones too. Like they weren't like one and dones like perhaps Heidenreich or Khali. You had really good ones like Orton. Like the feud with Orton was
went on for an entire year. It went on from near enough for the whole year. It's like it went from Mania to Armageddon,
and that was career defining. That made Randy Orton. You know, like you could have, granted, you had the evolution stuff there, absolutely, but he had stalled at that point when you think about it, because he would have had the title win. It got like stunted immediately thanks to Triple H, and then suddenly this Orton character needed something to kickstart, and that was it. It was the feud of the Undertaker, the Hell in a Cell match, the return at Survivor Series, all this like just incredible. The coffin gun on fire, Bob Orton, the WrestleMania match, like all of this in the space of a year, brilliant stuff. Another one I'd say is definitely under the radar, but perhaps it should be deserved to be up there, is Brock Lesnar, because that kind of ran in circles a little bit, where like you had the original cycle, which was you had your biker chain match, you had your like one of the goriest fucking Hell in a Cell matches you'll ever have.
Oh yeah.
And then it, in a weird way, kind of ended a stalemate. It's like, okay, no, this guy is for real. He's genuine, and they kind of left it at that. And then like 20 years or so later, let's go for the WrestleMania match where Brock Lesnar's come back even more of a behemoth, and again he's kind of booked more now to be this kind of like more like still the same kind of force, but now he's somehow more like powerful, you know. So he's thinking like, well, Taker has to win this surely, and he doesn't. He just doesn't. He doesn't win it, and everyone's like, shit. We weren't expecting that. But even then, like afterwards, like they had like two quite good matches at SummerSlam and Hell in a Cell. SummerSlam 1 was where kind of Taker got his mojo back with the weird kind of like laughing spot.
The dodgy, the weird kind of dodgy finish.
Yeah, and it was like, it was weird. I don't know, like in a weird way, it just had like really good moments in it. But even the Hell in a Cell match after was very good, because it was trying to like have that kind of weird kind of like visceral action that like the old Hell in a Cell matches had, but because this is now the PG era, they couldn't do stuff like blood, so they were more creative with it. They were doing stuff like let's tear the ring up.
It just
and, like,
had to be violent. It just had to be violent. And that's at that stage. That's what that feud was about. Like I remember, like the fucking the pull apart brawl that they had on Raw. That one.
Yes,
that one.
Very good.
Which went through like 2 or 3 segments as well. Like they had a big pull apart brawl, goes on a break, it comes back, and they're still fighting.
Yeah, that was it. Like,
you don't have to.
Yeah.
I don't know what that keeps sticking in my head, and I don't know if this is pure roasting the glasses from years of watching SmackDown, but the feud he had with JBL was really entertaining because, like, in a way, like those two are running in completely different circles. Yeah, sure, they're Texans, put that out of it, but like you have this undead zombie who has all this spooky shit happening, and then you have hyper capitalist. Like the two do not match. They're not in different they're in different worlds. I go like, and like JBL is trying to like, because he's been the champion for like months at this point, and Taker's going like, yes, I would like to be champion now, and JBL's going like, would you like money? No, I didn't think you'd like money. Where's the fuck is Orlando Jordan when I need him? No, he's gone too. Shit. And this weird, like, was it the I think there was one match where like JBL wins by disqualification, and I Taker goes, oh, you're gonna die, and Tombstone's him on the fucking limo, and it's just like, yes. It's just great stuff, like really, really fun matches. The program Batista.
He also had a classic feud with Edge.
Yes, I was about to mention Edge and Batista there as well.
Batista as well, I was going to mention.
Batista was great, very underrated. Because again, it was the same case as like, so here's Monster versus Monster. Let's see if Batista can last the pace, you know.
But that was the good thing about the Batista one. It was just straight up. There's no bullshit about it. There's no like neither of them. It's not heel face. Yeah, it's just it's two big dogs.
He picked him.
That's it.
He beat him. And then Batista comes out on SmackDown and says, "You won. I want my rematch."
Yeah, it's literally that's it. It's 2 big dogs just going, okay.
You won that.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
It's kind of a pity, like towards the end, like he wasn't able to work with certain people, like because I remember kind of looking at the Roman Reigns feud, thinking, oh, like I was kind of getting vibes to the Batista one and going like that could have been the exact same feud. You could have done the exact same thing. Where Roman Reigns kind of gets his stripes that way, and granted, like to Reigns' credit, he got like a tremendous amount of heat for like presumably retiring the Undertaker, and he worked with that, but didn't go in that direction in the end, which is a damn pity.
It's
but
my yard now.
Yeah, brilliant. Like he played that absolutely sublimely. It was a shame that the like creative side shit the bed, but in a sense, like if they were allowed the same kind of like time and like flexibility to do a program like that, it would have had the exact same transformative effect. It would have been like a Batista or an Edge effect. Like this person is now legitimized. They've gone through the Undertaker and they've had this remarkable storyline where it isn't a case of dominance. It is like, who is the locker room leader? Who's taking charge? And it was a passing of the torch moment. It was Taker. It's now Reigns. Reigns is the locker room leader now. And they kind of did it, you know, in a tangential way, in a more subtle way, but they could have really rammed home that point. That is just like, this is my yard now. Let's make it like, let's bash people over the head with that notion, you know, that like Reigns is the top dog.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, like, I'm kind of on the same boat as John, because like my favorite like rivalries happened when Undertaker was on SmackDown, and it happened to be with Randy Orton and Edge, because they were lengthy feuds, but not to the point where it's like, I'm sick of this. No, they kept you engaged in it. But,
they were never boring. Boring.
But also in the process, like when you look back on it, it's like, damn, that's actually like, it's legitimized them as new like stars coming up. Because I mean, like, what, that was 2004, was it? Like
05, 06, yeah.
Yeah, like Orton was like 2004, so he would have coming off like his title run anyway. But
2005 he wrestled him on Wrestlemania, and then that one went on for like years.
That's it. Yeah.
Edge stuff started around 07.
08 would have been
7, 8.
07 and 8, because he used the Money in the Bank to cash in on Undertaker.
That was how it started.
Shit, actually, yeah. Jesus, yeah, you're dead right, buddy. Because that the Edge Undertaker feud went on for like over a year.
It was between two injuries.
Edge tapped in on Undertaker. Then Edge had to relinquish the belt. And
Taker got hurt. Then Edge got hurt.
Taker came back and was fighting Batista at Survivor Series 07, and in the Hell in a Cell match, and Edge came out and hit him with the ladder. Oh, not the ladder, the camera.
Briefcase. Camera,
Camera, and then Undertaker then in the Hell in a Cell at SummerSlam the following year used the camera to bash Edge over the head with it.
Yeah, because that was this massive culmination of everything that Edge had done to him. Taker did it back.
Taker gave him a spear, and I was thinking, "You cheeky bastard! Where'd you learn to do that?"
The chair shots are pretty sick as well.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Just on the side note, so I don't know if anyone else was feeling the same way, but the match that he had with Kennedy. Who else thought that, like, as soon as he got his hands on the chair, that's it, it's over. Kennedy is dead.
He's gonna make Kennedy wear this chair as a necklace.
Yes.
I think I was around in Joey and Barry's mom's. We were watching the pay-per-view, and I called it right there and then. It's like
because he already lost the match. And then he grabbed the chair because Kennedy just kept trying to beat him up after the match was over, and it was just like, oh, he's dead now.
Yeah.
Watch, he's gonna be busted open. Watch, and sure enough, Kennedy Allen's on commentary like, he is going to murder that man. He's going to murder that man, and these fans are cheering that shit. This is disgraceful, you know. He's going to be suspended and fined, So in regards to like chair shots, like poor Maven. Poor
Maven.
Chair shot, and then Undertaker actually had to get the razor blade to cut him because he couldn't.
Yeah.
So he had to push the cameraman away to get like a bit of.
While we're on the topic of glorious blade jobs, I think we have to acknowledge the buried alive match between him and Vince, where Vince like he starts off the match. Taker does his entrance with the bike and all this shit, and like Vince is like praying in the corner, going like, I can do this. I believe in Jesus. Says, do you fuck believe in Jesus? And fucking
he doesn't believe in you.
And Taker just goes, fucking Christ. And he's doing this like a minute while Vince is going, right across the face. And he's just gushing for like 20 minutes. It's genuinely like geriatric assault. You know, but it's funny. It's so cathartic watching Vince McMahon just like bleed to death. You know, it really is.
What's great about it is the fact that like Vince, for what he lacks in wrestling ability, he makes up for in the spectacle of it. Like he
fucking commits.
Just a willingness. He's a willingness to just do whatever the fuck needs to happen for the match. He'll do it.
Absolutely.
And facial expression.
I did love it. What I did love about that was just, you know, sometimes Vince will try and get too much shit in.
Yeah.
He'll try and be too offensive in it. Whereas, you know, forced punch in a match, he's busted open. He does not get a single bit of offense in. He might hit a low blow.
Blow and a bit of dust.
A shovel. Yeah.
That's literally it. That's literally it. The rest of it is just Taker beating the absolute piss out of a fucking of a senior citizen.
Yes.
He beats up out of the grave, grabs him by the throat, drags him into the thing, and he obviously did something to his elbow because he's getting out and he's like holding his elbow like that. You know,
he could have opened on something. I think it was like the metal fucking like whatever case he had in the cast in the hole for the thing. I think he cut him on that. I could be wrong now, but I think it was either or he gashed himself on the table. You know, they did a table spot and he gashed his like just right across the elbow line on it. Because I remember looking at it, it's like, fuck, that's sore. Like I don't know how he did. I don't think Vince did that. I think that Taker did that himself by accident, just like a bad landing. It's awful.
And then Kane, which buries Undertaker. And then we got the return.
Return of like undead Undertaker. Like, what was our opinion in regards to the Boneyard match?
Loved it.
I loved it. I did.
Brilliant.
I don't know if I'll be able to appreciate if I'll watch it back now.
No.
I think it was
a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like I keep
watching it again because I'll be going through WrestleMania.
Well, yeah.
all over again before WrestleMania this year.
Mm.
As is tradition.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think like for that, like it was an excellent example of what they can do to get around his like decline in
his limitations.
Yeah. And to be honest, like when you watch it, like it is a great like thing to watch because you do feel like it very Lucha Underground. If you've ever watched it, it's like very Lucha Underground feel to it, where it's basically shown like a movie, just in a smaller scale.
Yeah.
But there is some part of me that really wishes I could have seen just a straight up match with AJ and Taker. Because Taker is so like AJ is just he's
safe as houses.
Yeah, he's the best in the fucking world, and I will hear no arguments on AJ not being the best. Okay, AJ is the best in the world at the minute, and I think of everybody there, he would have given Taker. He would have fucking flew around the ring for Taker. He would have bumped all over the place for him. He would have made Taker look as good as he could possibly do.
Do you know the one
he
thing
could possibly look?
He wouldn't do in the match. AJ, I hope he wouldn't try to do the Styles Clash.
Or the Faith Breaker, I believe it's called.
Yeah. Because that would have gone bad.
No. Yeah. But the curious thing is, like, my main thought watching the Boneyard match was like, fuck, like, should have done this years sooner. Like, they should have. When you think about it, like the matches he would have had with Reigns and Cena and all them, like, okay, like and perhaps the Wyatt match as well. The Wyatt match wasn't that good, and you just kind of look at that kind of phase of that and thinking like, that was the time to do something a bit different with Taker. Had they had the foresight to go like, well, perhaps we kind of like almost like turn the clock back and go for a really campy, really goofy, but really engaging match with the Undertaker, where like, yes, we know like this is going to be a fake cinematic match, and we're going to have the cameras going everywhere and this kind of weird dialogue in between. That's fine. Let's do that, because the Undertaker is one of the few characters you can get away with that, and Bray Wyatt being another example. Hence why they did the similar match. But the thing is, like, that works so exceptionally well, and it's a shame that like he has kind of called time on it now, because I think there was great scope to do more with that. Like, immediately when I saw that, I was thinking like, well, what's the next cinematic match you can do with these two? And like, even immediately I was thinking like, this was like the perfect like jumping off point to potentially do a match with Sting. Those two lads don't have to even take a bump. Get fucking stunt doubles in. Like, those two lads don't even have to do anything, because like people are buying into it. They're buying into the fact that like, look, we know they're booked. We know they're old men. We just want to see what that match would actually look like. And you could have gone full ham. And that's what the great thing about the Boneyard match was. It was maximum fucking ham. It was like watching The Room or Samurai Cop. You know what I mean? That was what made it great, was the fact that like everyone was in on it. Everyone loved the notion of it. It's like, yeah, this is just another day in the life of the Undertaker. You know, in that character, it's like, oh, he's just left a wife, left a daughter to go for a fight in a graveyard. I can totally believe that. I can absolutely believe that. He's even picked out the graveyard he's going to have to fucking scrap in. You know what I mean? You can totally believe that. There is an actual like a universe there where this Undertaker lives in. You know, and there was so much of a scope with it. Maybe they will come back to the well of it, because I don't think he's done. I really don't. I think like this is just like this him retiring the character as such, but like there'll be a button there at Titan Towers where it's just like press break glass for Undertaker, and it's always going to be there. Like it's always going to be there. You know?
Currently on the walls in Titan Towers.
Just there, like behind Vince's office, whenever the ratings go down behind like under 1 million, it's like,
He takes down that dinosaur skull, and then there's
That's what I was just
It's
gonna
hidden in the
say.
mouth. It's like instead of the fire alarm, it's just a gong. It's a gong.
Like, but in regards to what you're saying, like, if they did have the foresight to do it, like, the Boneyard match would have served as a great way to do a potential trilogy of matches with him and AJ, where like you'd have the first one, Taker gets his revenge. Second one is the bad guy AJ coming back to get his win, and then it'll all be a blow off in a third match.
Him and Rollins would have been a very fascinating pair in that setting, because like I was thinking of this with the Rollins with the savior kind of character and that kind of attitude.
Yeah,
the great
especially with the
antidote,
gimmick.
Exactly. Like the great antidote to that would have been Taker going like, "Oh, you're a prick," and it just would have been a case of like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. Come on down to this boneyard here. Let's see what happens." Well,
like as you talk about that, it's like think about the what ifs, like of who he could have faced. I mean, look at Samoa Joe.
Oh yes,
there's someone you could put him against, and be like, anytime you put Joe in, he's always a legitimate threat to anyone he's against. But also puts really good promos if he has the right material.
It's the character work is the thing, because Samoa Joe has always been a fantastic character. Like even with the wrestling stuff, that's just also solid. But Samoa Joe makes you believe in his matches, and like that's when you have a good Undertaker match too. When you have that other person that can reciprocate what Taker gives. So Taker will give you the souls and kicking ass and all this shit. Samoa Joe will go like, "Dude, you're 50. I'm gonna kick your fucking ass." Like it's just a completely different energy. In the same way that a lot of like different people on the roster, I mean, him and Ambrose would have been a fascinating pair, like, because Ambrose could have gone the same way. It's like, dude, you're a broken up old man. I'm fucking half your age, and I've cut myself more times than I can count. I can take you on. So there's always going to be that fantasy warfare style of it. But again, having the cinematic approach where like Taker doesn't need to take a bump, just get fucking Brian Lee out of mothballs and have him take fucking bumps instead. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that at all. It's easy. Like, just get a stunt double to take all the bumps. Is Luke Gallows doing anything much lately? Fuck him. Like, just get him in. Get him in the garb. Like, because like people just want the actual idea, the visualization of that match. In like as fully kayfabe as you can get it. But in a way, like, it's kind of nice that we only have the one boneyard match, because it's like it stands unique. Like, it's like it'd be like if it was the only Inferno match or something, or the only Buried Alive match. It's same kind of vibe off it,
Which is good. It's good that it can stand there as a one and done kind of thing, like it's self-contained, as it were.
That definitely.
Which I think is what would appeal to longtime fans if they're trying to go back, and it's like, this is a great example of like a like everything is done in this one match. You have your beginning, middle, and end to the entire rivalry.
Yeah.
All played out in this one match, which is great. But it leaves you with the beauty of it, that it's like, what if they went again?
Yes.
Like, I kind of want to see more, but at the same time, I don't. It's that nice balance between that.
They've hit the note where like you're happy if this is the only installment.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone left on the roster that would warrant. The one match would be Sting.
Yeah.
And I was saying this to Barry the other night, that like that would be the only thing that would have made sense for like someone to come out and say, "No, you're not retiring because we have to have a match."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it could still happen. But
you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Never say never, as they say.
In some ways, like I would love if this is it now.
Yeah. I know. I would prefer if it was, to be honest with you. I know I've loved Undertaker for such a long time and all, but like, as far as I'm concerned, why not?
After everything that's like, after the last ride, after they've made such a big deal about him retiring, about him finishing up. I think now's the time.
Yeah.
Like the dude's gone above and beyond like what was asked of him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like especially when you watch the Last Ride documentary, like he goes instantly from his match is back into training for the next year just to keep himself in a really good condition. But he's also battling his surgeries at the same time.
And his own kind of internal struggle of
when should I
right,
end?
Throw it out. Brock ending the streak. Good idea, bad idea.
I still think it's a bad idea.
Someone else.
Good idea.
I think if they wanted to end it, Roman would have been okay for it, or Bray Wyatt. If Bray Wyatt was given a bit more time, maybe, and a bit more of an angle, I think Bray could have beaten him. But if not, just leave it.
I'm in the good idea camp, and the reason I say it is because for a long time I was in the bad idea camp, right? Because I remember it happened this live, I fucking flipped the lid. I was like, you fucking idiots, you fucking bottle jobs, you just. I'm watching Impact from now on. Like I was apoplectic with rage, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought this works, because if you look at probably not now at the moment with everything going on, but for those 4 or 5 years, Brock Lesnar was Gilgamesh. He was fucking he was every final boss from every fighting video game you can think of. Like you had to beat this guy. You couldn't knock him off his perch. He didn't even have to be wrestling half the time. Like he was the title guy, and that was it. But the reason he was that was because he took Undertaker down, and that was the reality of it. Like it's a different type of push in a sense where I can get kind of Barry's point in the sense that maybe Bray Wyatt could have been more deserving of that. But when you kind of look at that and if you're thinking well, somebody has to beat the streak. If we're going to pick one, Brock Lesnar is kind of the best option there, because with Bray Wyatt and someone like that, where it's kind of still a very developing character, it's a big risk, because if that character goes wrong in every different way, you're thinking this is the guy that beat the Undertaker. If remember one time Mark Henry was meant to be the guy to beat the streak once upon a time.
Yeah.
And of course Randy Orton at the time. Now if Randy Orton beat the streak back then, holy shit, stratosphere. But it would not have nowhere been the same effect. And likewise with Mark Henry, that just the benefit would not have been there. But with Brock Lesnar beating him at the time he did, it was absolutely the right way, because now you had this super villain set up for the next 5 years. It was locked in, he was the guy to beat now. And it did take until Roman Reigns to beat him. And now Roman Reigns is that person. And then cycle kind of continues in that way. So yes, it was a good use of the streak in that sense to at least establish a bigger force going forward, because I think that's kind of what Taker would have wanted himself. If someone was going to break the streak, it was going to be after someone at a phenom of the same size as the Undertaker, and Lesnar is that. He's just a different type of beast.
That's it as well. In doing that, they created the big boss. They created the big bad at the end of the level.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, they bungled Lesnar's return a little bit. And they had him lose to Cena, and they had him lose to Triple H, and Brock, he was still a major deal. So it was almost Brock getting the win, or Brock beating the streak was rehabbing Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And I know his matches got a bit samey after a while. It was just suplexes, suplex, F5 finish. But you think back to that Cena match, after he'd beaten the streak, and then he fought Cena at SummerSlam, which I think was supposed to be Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
And imagine that was Daniel Bryan in that position, who is after conquering the Authority. He's at the winning the belt. He's at the holding it all the way to SummerSlam. And now he's facing the dude who beat the streak on the same night that he won the belt. And Lesnar goes in and demolishes Bryan. Yeah. Absolutely demolishes. Not only would it solidify Brock as the big bad, it would have got him so much fucking heat as well.
That's the thing. Because that's the difference.
People loved that he fucked up John Cena. People would have fucking hated him fucking up Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
Like it solidified Brock as the be all end all big bad at the end of the video game.
Yeah. Because that was the end of it, was that he got so much backlash from being the guy to beat the Undertaker because it wound everybody up. People who totally
and you had Paul Heyman just week after week just coming out and like just rubbing it in people's face that yes,
that's it.
My client,
because you would have had lifelong fans. You would have lifelong fans being so annoyed that this is the fucker you picked. This is who you wanted. You're fucking idiots.
This is it. Like you were saying, like you're saying there. Like when you foresaw, and Barty, you were the same. When you foresaw that, you're just infuriated that of all people, fucking Brock, who only comes in every few months.
That was it.
And
that's who you pick.
I really liked Brock way back in 2002, 3, and when he was original. I thought he was brilliant. But when he came back, I was like, this is not the same wrestler that I saw back then. I don't like him that much anymore. And then when he beat Taker, I was like, I hate him now.
I think it was a case that, like, as you said, like it's kind of like the MCU where like they'll tease you like in setup for the bigger picture that's coming up.
Yeah.
But like in regards to Lesnar, like it made sense for him to be that guy because he did set up the big bad for the likes of Roman and so on. It's obviously at the time I don't think people would have been upset about him particularly losing the streak. It was just the problem with who it was.
Yes.
Like if it was someone else.
Genuinely, I think it didn't matter who it was. I think people were still going to be upset about him losing the streak one way or another.
It wouldn't have gotten as nuclear heat if, like.
But Brock could take the heat.
Yes.
Brock could take the heat because he doesn't give a fuck.
And he's not there every week either, so you can't get mad at him all the time. Yeah. Like if he's on TV every week, it dilutes down the impact he's had. So the fact that he's out there, he literally has like beaten the Undertaker streak and then fucked off for 6 months, makes people even more angry at him. So like when Foxy said like it's kind of like they have kind of similarity to the MCU effect, like that's exactly it. You've just created a Thanos, and now somebody has to take it down. So like it's perfect. You got exactly what you wanted because you couldn't be there at Raw or SmackDown to get angry at him because the fucker's pissed off for 3 months. Brilliant.
Yeah. Just kind of mention every now and then, when I know he's not there now, but like when Paul would come back with him when he was champion, when he'd be fighting Seth Rollins or whoever, and he'd make mention of my client, such and such this and that, and then all of the conqueror of the streak. The fans would straight away go boo, immediately.
Yeah. The 1 in 21
and 1.
Like,
and now it's 25-2.
Yeah.
27 matches at WrestleMania.
Insane.
Just doesn't have the same ring to it.
No.
And he had like 18 in a row as well. From WrestleMania 17 to WrestleMania 24.
35, yeah.
Which is crazy.
Nuts.
But they didn't do 25.
They did, yeah, you're right, yeah.
I did find it funny, like watching the one more round, like with the broken skull. It's like Austin's just throwing out the numbers, and he's like, Austin's like 5-2.
5-2.
He's only been on 7 Manias. Like
he's wrestled at 20. So.
That's crazy to think about that. Like Austin, still regarded as one of the biggest like superstars ever, and He's only been on 7 WrestleManias. That's it. Well,
it's funny. Like it's.
For the love of God, Barney.
No,
You gotta cut this out,
yeah,
Foxy. Yeah.
I'll be home doing this. Yeah.
I hope
very-
Foxy keeps this in.
Got a very professional podcast here.
We are absolutely yes. So Terry, when did you first get into wrestling, Terry?
just play the elevator music, just like
Yeah. So as I was saying,
yeah.
Right.
So obviously, like we've talked about like our favorite matches, like favorite iterations, favorite music. I think.
Oh, Ministry theme. There's no contest on that. There's no contest on it. The original one from Jim Johnson is absolutely brilliant.
I think the
Absolutely brilliant.
that came right before Ministry, where the guitar riff and everything was in it, but it didn't have all the
Yes.
crap in it. I like that.
Mm.
You know, when
Yeah.
him and Kane came together. You remember when they first came together and they went against Austin at he went against Austin at SummerSlam '98. Out of hell. Love that. The guitar solos in it and everything. That was brilliant.
How about you, John?
You can't go wrong with "You Doing It Now."
No, you're gonna make a bring.
You hated that.
Yes, I did. I didn't mind the one that didn't have the lyrics, but yeah, "You Doing It Now" was it was a pretty. I probably loved it at the time.
Boogerin.
I love it.
Everybody wants to know what the hell a Booger Red is.
It's not one of Jim Johnson's shining most glorious moments.
No, it's not.
What about that time they came out to Johnny Cash for a little while?
Oh, that was great. That was fantastic. Just a great one-off theme. Yeah, great one-off theme.
Or of course, Roland.
Yeah,
badass. You know, Metallica recently. Apparently, Metallica were supposed to perform Undertaker to the ring at WrestleMania. That was going to be in the.
Oh shit!
That was what the original plan was going to be.
That would have been cool.
Oh, that would have been great. Yeah.
That would have been.
Because you can imagine he was going to come out in the bike, wasn't he? He was going to go back to the fucking to Big Evil. He was going to go back to the badass. You can tell, like he was like, "Oh, we really wanted to lay this bit of a surprise on people, and it never paid off. Pity."
He still got to ride his bike.
Yeah, exactly. It's a happy end.
Yeah. So, what do you reckon? What's Taiko's legacy? Is it the streak? Is it Mania? Is it his backstage presence? Is it his commitment to the character?
I think it's
his loyalty.
It's a combination of all, because you have to admire like the loyalty to be able to stick with a company for so many years, but not only that, by being a constant that people will look up to, and would look like not only look up to, but would look to settle disputes, like
court and all.
Yeah, like being the judge, jury, and executioner, as it were, for wrestlers' court. But like, yeah, like obviously, like Mania and the streak is a big part of it. But it's like, and also you have to admire like the dedication to a character for so many years. Like, whereas like loads of people will be quick to just like talk about everything. This man held on to that for 30 years. Didn't do interviews, didn't do much of anything else. So like he kept that mystique as well, that made you like always be curious about it. What's he like? Or I wonder what happened here. What's the story here? There was an air of mystery to him. So it is to me, it's a combination of everything. What about yourself?
I think his company loyalty is definitely up there. Yeah, just tiny little side note. I think it's one of those weird ones that why is everybody suddenly forgetting about his "This Is My Yard" video? That he did all of this before. Like, he spoke about his career and spoke about the fact that he was in WCW and spoke about like he's a real person and whatnot. But it's like the thing with Triple H when they fought Mania 27 and everybody just conveniently forgot that they fought 10 years before at Mania at 17. But no, I think his legacy will be his professionalism.
Yeah.
That he's the ultimate pro. That he would go out injured. He'd do anything for the company. And yeah, people can shit on it that like he'll come back for the Saudi shows or whatever. But his loyalty and professionalism for WWE and for just professional wrestling in general, committing to the gimmick and committing to Vince and to the WWE. I think that will be what he's most remembered for.
They installed faith in him. They had faith in him to put money into him and make this character for him that he's never going to not do a job for Vince or make an appearance for him or anything like that.
The fact that he was willing to, like, he didn't make an argument about losing the streak around. He was just, you know what, this is your show. This is what you want to do. Then, yeah, he'll question it, but like at the end of the day, the decision is Vince's, and he's never. Once that decision is made, then okay, it's your company. This is what you want to do, then this is what we're gonna do. So I think, as a professional, I think that will be what he's most remembered for, at least from me, anyway. That's what I'll always look at it like.
Yeah, for me, it's his philosophy on how to be a professional wrestler, both from a personal standpoint and as a kayfabe standpoint. On the personal side, you mentioned some of those qualities there. It's the likes of your loyalty, your professionalism, your ability to carry yourself as this sort of like, and having those kind of leadership qualities. Yeah, sure, he may have not been a megastar like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, but in a sense, he didn't need to be. He was a star in different means. He was the person that people went to backstage if there was a situation. He was the guidance. He was as Jim Ross coined it many years ago, he was the conscience. He was a lot of people's kind of like backbone. And for a long time, he was the backbone of the company, of WWE. And for good reason, because of those qualities I mentioned there, his loyalty, his professionalism. People were looking up going like, we have to be like him, because he has all those qualities that like are perceived to be very good qualities in professional wrestlers. And maybe times are changing now with the way things are going at the minute, but those qualities I think are always going to be good. Even if you're going to be somebody who's going to work in a company for 30 years, that stands to reason that those qualities are always going to be your lasting legacy. The fact that you were there for 30 years, that you were there through thick and thin, that regardless of what happened, you were always there by your boss's side. You were the enforcer, you were the attack dog at times. And you see that when Vince McMahon is asked the question, what does The Undertaker mean to you? And he physically can't answer it. The man is moved to tears whenever he thinks of the loyalty he got from him. And again, whether you think that's misguided or not is entirely up to your opinion. But the fact is that this man has given you 30 years of his life in one of the most taxing jobs you'll ever do anywhere. You know, it's not like being like a postman for 30 years or a milkman for 30 years. This is being a professional wrestler and breaking your body every night for a significant amount of money and for the adulation of the crowd, but you're still putting your body through a lot of trauma to do it. And to have the mindset to be able to say, yes, I'm going to do this every single week, every single day I'm told not to, then that's commendable, because a lot of people could not do 30 years of wrestling. You know, the other part
and
of it is
not just do it sorry, not to cut you off, but not just do it as long as he has, but to do it at a consistent level.
Yeah.
At a top level.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile keeping the character as grounded as he did, and you know, never breaking character when he didn't need to, and never selling an injury or anything like that. His overall commitment to the character and his commitment to the business and his commitment to the company.
Yeah, because I was about to make that point there about the kayfabe aspect of it, was that, like, regardless of what character he was going to be given, he was going to commit it 100%. He could have been the fucking Eggman and he would have committed to it. He would have called himself the fucking Albuman. He would have had the yoke folk and all this shit. He would have totally committed to it, regardless of what it was. That is just in his character. That is his personality. But because he was the Undertaker and he threw himself 100% into it, that's the major takeaway. If you're a young professional wrestler watching this, is that, like, regardless of whatever you are given, commit to it, take it, use it, make advantage of it, and then after a while, you will evolve naturally because you know which way the wind is blowing for your character. So, like, the reason why he went through so many phases was because he needed to evolve. He couldn't just stay as the Western Undertaker he was there for several years. He had to be given an edge because the Attitude Era was upon us, and that character would have fallen on his arse. He needed an edge, so he became more demonic, more satanic, more sinister. Then that slowly morphed over time into the Ministry of Darkness, and that was fantastic. Maybe it was a short-term fix, but it was the Attitude Era. Everything was a short-term fix. You know what I mean? Times were moving so fast then, and then immediately, like, he was gone, things were starting to get more real and more like close to the kind of the reality line of reality. Then bam, right, fuck the Ministry of Darkness, let's go straight into being Mark Calloway. Let's be a biker. It's very close to him as a person. So he's talking, he's like doing weird jive talks and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it looks so weird now and so jarring based off what we've seen after that. But for those 2 or 3 years, so much more important to keep him there. You know, because again, if he came back as a Ministry of Darkness, it wouldn't have worked. They needed a more realistic character, and he recognized that. Like very few people do. Very few people are brave enough to make that change and say this is what's going to work because it needs to work. And he learned behind
and it needed a break as well, like the satanic, the demonic, the Lord of Darkness, the whole gimmick. It needed a break. It needed people to miss it.
Yeah.
For it to come back.
Absolutely. And then kind of leads then into when he kind of like settled on a reboot of the original Undertaker, but those elements were always there. And depending on who he's feuding with, remember who he's paired up with, every feud feels different. You know, you couldn't look at, say, the Randy Orton feud he had and say that's exactly the same as the JBL feud. You know, on paper, perhaps, yeah, like maybe the same outcome happened, but the nuts and bolts of the story were all different. It was all custom made for who he's facing. And again, that's a great quality as well, because in a way, his legacy is not about the titles, and perhaps it's the streak being 25-2, but the actual stories he made with these people and legitimizing them and making them stars. That's his legacy, because that's his philosophy on wrestling. Whatever wrestling gives you, you give back. And Pete almost certainly gave back. He left nothing. He left nothing behind.
One thing that I wanted to mention about his legacy as well is, if you think of all the different eras that we talk about, the golden era, the new generation, the Attitude Era, the ruthless aggression, and then the whatever the hell they called it after that.
Mm.
He was there.
Yeah.
Maybe he was there later in the golden generation, but he was there towards the end. Hogan was there, and he has wrestled and beat everybody that has ever wrestled in the company. And unless I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong.
No. Any big name, any name he's been in the ring with.
Exception of Andre the Giant, because he was too old by that point. He has beaten every single one of them. Or at least wrestled them, you know?
Yeah. He could easily, legitimately make the claim that he's faced everyone and he has like slayed them all, basically.
Yeah.
So
Hogan, Savage, back in that time, you know, anybody of that era. Then you got like the Harts and Diesel and
Michaels,
happy wrestlers he had to fight, like Kamala. I don't mean that. But like, you know, Gonzalez and Bundy and IRS and you know.
Oh Jesus, fuck.
And then in the later 90s when he'd be going against Savio Vega and Crush and Farouk and anybody that was around at the time, Owen Hart even for a little while. You know, have a match here and there with Bulldog or somebody. And then you go into the newer generation like the Rock and anybody, Austin, Triple H, Kane, of course, and Mankind, Shawn Michaels, everybody. You can't think of anybody that he hasn't beaten or at least wrestled. Even Brock Lesnar, he beat Brock Lesnar as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be a curious thing because like in a sense now officially he feels like he is gone. So like how would people respond to it? How would people react to it? Obviously, like it's felt like it's been gone for a long time, but now there's a finality to it, or at least we presume so. Like if I was anyone else, like kind of backstage at WWE, you'd be desperate to pick his brain. Like if you're someone like there thinking like you're kind of stuck in the mid card and you're looking like you're trying to figure out why is my character not working, the first person you should ask is the Undertaker, because the guy has like been in the mid card, he's been opening curtains and all this stuff, but after a while he hits something that makes him a champion or makes him a main event star. Ask him what that is, and sometimes it's just a personal instinct of knowing like, well, I have to do this. But even with asking him or talking to him about it, you'll know yourself, you'll find out what you need to do, because it could be just a simple thing of just like change a character, change your gear, change your finisher, change the way you look. It could be as simple as that. You just have to ask him, and he'll probably tell you.
I mean, he's a 7-time WWE/World Champion and a 7-time Tag Team Champion, so he's done something right in his career.
Absolutely, yeah. He's got the resume to prove it. It's not. He wasn't a company guy. Like he wasn't a fucking stooge. He was solid. Of course, at least we forget the hardcore reign. So you can do it all. But that's the point. Like the fact he's done everything.
Remember the way he used to put the hardcore belt in front of his spotlight on his
in front of the bike.
Yeah.
When he was driving down, and he just batter Spike Dudley or something like that.
Yeah.
I still remember like the promo. It's like when Raven's being called that he's going into a match against Undertaker. It's like, no, it's going to be a hardcore match. Oh no!
In the last ride through the announcers table as far as it goes.
Yeah,
he messed him.
And my God, as well. You know, we never mentioned moves. The tombstone. That's the most. It's Undertaker's move. You know, and other people do it. Kane does it, and
Okada. Yeah.
But the tombstone is Undertaker's move. It was his, and it always will be. And, but then I always, me and Joey used to talk about it all the time. We like power bombs. We always like power bombs, right? But Undertaker's power bomb was something else, because he's around 7 foot, 6'10", whatever you want to say, and he's also then gonna lift you up.
Extra few inches, yeah.
And then like just pull you down, you know what I mean?
That just reminds me of so him and Kane are like tagging in a match against Kane.
Oh,
pure spontaneous, like Funaki just slips out of like Kane's arms.
You basically gave him an alley-oop.
Yeah.
But like,
I feel bad for the two boys.
Yeah. But it was that sporadic, like it was that organic, like on the fly, like I'm gonna teach you how to do this. Like, here's how you do a powerbomb. You hold them and then lift them. Like, oh god, the poor lads. But
great stuff.
So yeah, like we've obviously talked about our favorite matches, certain aspects, different iterations, different music, good rivalries, some of the bad stuff as well. What his legacy will be, but like I don't think we can really like talk about anymore in that sense without basically repeating ourselves. So I think on that note we should kind of like lay it to rest, as it were.
Well, just throw out one more.
Okay, go for it.
Just a yes or no. Is he done?
No.
Yes. I believe so.
I think Undertaker is done, but Mark Calloway isn't.
I think Mark will always be involved in the business. He'll always have a role. He'll always have a spot somewhere, whether it's training, whether it's an ambassador. Jury's still out for me.
Someone like him is married to the business. Like he won't be able to say no. Like fucking said the same thing about Ric Flair, and then like 2 years later he's like bleeding from Hulk Hogan in Australia. Like let's be fair, like wrestling retirements are like fucking Terry Funk. Like they're as fluid as they come. So like to be fair, it will be a testament to his character if he actually does stick to his retirement, which I can see happening. But definitely, like you'll see him floating around. He'll pop up and he'll be in his like leather jacket and bandana, and he'll be talking jive with fucking Seth Rollins over something just for 1 week, and then he'll just disappear again. You know, he'll just be tied to for some reason. You know.
So I wanted to be a yes, but somewhere in me is saying it's a no.
You're skeptical.
You're still gonna pop if he pops up.
Probably.
If he appears next Survivor Series.
I know. I brought up the question, and I'm the one that's saying maybe. No, you have to answer yes or no. Only I'm allowed to answer maybe.
Yes. Then you ask the question.
Well, for me, no. I think he's done. I think that's it.
Okay.
Retired.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, my opinion.
So, on that note, I suppose we'll wrap this up. But like, yeah. If you've enjoyed this, please like let us know your thoughts. If you agree with what we said. If you didn't agree, please let us know. We'd like to hear. Again, I'd like to thank like Jonathan, Baz, and Terry Thatcher, aka Joey. We're slowly breaking your kayfabe. So in the
Thanks for making it through the intro.
Yeah.
If you listen closely, it's still going.
Yes.
Never ended.
Never
It never ended. But on that note, like we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.